With this first sentence, I have hinted that I'm just about to introduce a list of variables. So I've said the Darcy-Weisbach equation applied to a stream relates the average velocity of water through a cross-section of the channel to a function of the following variables. There is a way to format lists that makes a nice, neat list of items in the formatted document that's rendered from Markdown. And the way that you do that is to start a line with the dash character. Now, there's actually a couple of other characters that you could use, but they all do the same thing. And I like using the dash because the dash doesn't overlap with other formatting types of language in Markdown. So I'm going to use a dash at the beginning of a line to designate a list item. Also, I need to make sure I leave a blank line between the previous paragraph and the dash. And that is what is telling Markdown when there's two new lines in a row like this, or a blank line between two items, that there should be the end of a paragraph that's before the start of something new. And in this case, it's a start of a list. So my first list item is a dash, and the first variable I want to talk about is the acceleration of gravity. So I'm going to put a G colon for the variable name, and then I'm going to describe it. The acceleration of gravity. And just to be clear, we're on Earth, and it would be different if we were on another planet. So I'm going to put on Earth in parentheses here. Now, to continue to the next list item, I want to be sure that I don't put a blank line, because if I put a blank line in, that would be the end of the list. So on a new line, I'm going to put a new dash to specify a new list item. And in this case, I'm going to talk about the variable R. R is the hydraulic radius of the stream channel, or the cross-sectional area divided by the wetted perimeter. So I'm going to put R here, and I'm going to type in the description, the hydraulic radius of the channel cross section. And then to be clear, in parentheses, I'm going to say the cross sectional area divided by the wetted perimeter. Now again, because of the way that Markdown can ignore extra white space or new lines, I can keep from having my text extending way off to the right here for this list item, and I can put a new line here. And also, because it's ignoring space, I can make it clear that this is part of this list by putting a couple extra spaces here to make sure that I'm in line with the beginning of this list item, just to make it really clear in my Markdown code that I'm still in the same list item. So again, I'm just trying to find a way to clearly delineate the different items of a list. And I can do the same thing in a paragraph. One thing that I like to do when I'm writing Markdown is actually indent the lines of the same sentence, so it's really clear when a sentence starts and stops. So this is all one sentence, so I might put some extra space here, knowing that that space is just going to get ignored by Markdown. Okay, so I've got two list items. I can move on to the next one, which is, the energy slope, or a capital S, which is the local slope of the water surface, which is also called the energy slope. And finally, lowercase f, this is called the friction factor related to local channel roughness. So understanding the Darcy-Weisbach equation is not important for following this example. These are just the variables that ultimately we need to be able to predict what the average velocity of water through a given cross-section of the channel is going to be. So that gives us some new Markdown. That's the end of our list. So I'm going to go ahead and put a blank line in here just to indicate that we finished off the list. And now we can take a look at what this looks like. I'm going to hit our preview button, and we can see again we have our title, first level header, our first paragraph, and then we have a list. And in this case, it's called an unnumbered list. I have these dots here rather than numbers for each list item. And here I've got my G, the acceleration of gravity, R, the hydraulic radius. Notice that those extra, new line that I put into this line item has nothing to do with how it's formatted, right? There's no new line there. It's going to use as much space it has in the viewer. I can actually shrink this viewer to show you how it'll rewrap the text depending on how wide the viewer is. And I have my gravity, I have my hydraulic radius, I have my energy slope, and I have my friction factor. Now, just as a quick example, if we wanted this to be a numbered list instead of an unnumbered list, I could put a number in here, and it actually doesn't matter what number I use. They can all be ones, because markdown is going to automatically number them based on the number of items in the list anyway. So I could put any number that I want before the period, and it would still come out as 1, 2, 3, 4. So for example, I'm going to put them all as ones, and I'm going to just put some numeral in a period at the beginning of the line, and that will designate the beginning of a numbered item. And I can do that for all 4. I'm going to click on preview. And once it's finished, it'll pop up, and now you can see my list is numbered instead of with bullet points. But I actually want bullet points, so I'm going to put this back to dashes. Oops. For this list, so they are bullet points rather than numbers. So that is a quick overview of lists in Markdown.